Hersheypark is one of the most diverse coaster lineups in the country and is often revered as one of the best with the likes of Magic Mountain, Cedar Point, and Great Adventure. I've ridden all 13 coasters that are currently operating at this park, and Wildcat before it shut down in 2022. Since this park is so diverse, almost everyone has a different list of their top favorite coasters from this park. So in this video, I'll be showing my top 10 favorite coasters from Hersheypark. Before I start the countdown, I'd like to list some disclaimers. On my most recent visits to Hersheypark, I was not able to ride most of the coasters, so some opinions may be outdated. And I haven't ridden the Vekoma Boomerang in its current form as Jolly Rancher Remix, so that will not be on the list since I did not like Sidewinder at all. I'm not sure if Remix rides any differently, but even with the new trains, that ride is still very uncomfortable in my opinion. Also, I will be counting both sides of Lightning Racer as two different coasters, since I rank them differently and they are separate rides with slightly different layouts. Starting off the list at number 10 is Wild Mouse, a Mack Wild Mouse. This is pretty much a standard model you will see at most parks, however this one runs without a lot of the trims and you really fly through the layout. This is definitely one of the best Wild Mice in my opinion due to the strong laterals and even some airtime over the hills. Number 9 is Comet, a PTC wooden coaster. This is one of the oldest coasters in the United States, starting operation in 1946. The first thought I had when I saw the buzz bars on the train was great airtime is coming. However, that does not exist on this ride. It's certainly a fun wooden coaster with a strong and well-paced first half. However, once you go into the small hills, all the speed is taken away by a trim brake. I understand that this is probably here to keep the ride smooth and less maintenance heavy, but it really kills the pacing and the ride experience. I still don't understand how people says this gets standing airtime just like Phoenix at Knoebels does, because I've never gotten any airtime on this ride whatsoever. Number 8, Super Duper Looper, a Schwarzkopf looping coaster. This is a super fun terrain family coaster with one standout element, the loop. Now granted, when this first opened back in the 70s as the East Coast's first looping coaster, this is definitely no family coaster, but nowadays it's definitely regarded as a family coaster and more of the kids' first looping coaster. Some of the turns give weak laterals, but overall it's more of a scenic trip around the area of the park, which is nice because this is definitely the prettiest area of Hersheypark. The way this ride comes within feet of Great Bear, Skyrush, and Comet is definitely an amazing visual feature too. Super Duper Looper is also a great night ride since the hillside isn't lit up at all and it really twists in between and out of the trees. If Wildcat was still operating, this is where it would have placed. When I first rode this ride in 2016, I didn't really like it, but Hershey was one of the first parks I'd visited besides the Jersey parks. In all of my recent rides on Wildcat, I've really enjoyed it. For a while, I thought it was the best wooden coaster in the park since its roughness gave it character, and in the front had some great airtime and laterals. This ride was nowhere near as bad as everyone said it was, but I'm definitely looking forward to see what RMC is doing with this ride. However, the seals will be missed. Number 7, Lightning Racer. Lightning Racer is a solid GCI with some weak floater airtime and laterals. However, the last few times I've ridden it, it was running slower than the Thunder side and didn't present much of an experience I'd wait in line for. Overall, it's still a very enjoyable wooden coaster, but definitely not one of the better GCIs. Number 6, Fahrenheit, an Intamin looping coaster. I really don't know what Hershey was trying to do here. It seems like they wanted a B&M looper, but didn't have enough space for it, but also wanted the Gerstlauer Eurofighter at the same time. The Eurofighter was already an established model at the time, so I'm not sure if Hershey just had a good relationship with Intamin or something else was going on. Either way, this is a unique looping coaster with some great moments, but I tend to find this ride very overrated. The first drop is awesome in the back row, and all of the inversions are solid except for the Cobra Roll. It just vibrates so much and pulls no forces. The corkscrews are nice and snappy, and the final two airtime moments add some diversity, but the problem is that I don't want to wait 2 hours for this every time I come to the park. The capacity on Fahrenheit is so dreadful and the queue is one of the worst, just being jumbled up in a tight space between the ride, some trees, and the scorching sun. However, overall, it's a great coaster, just not one of the top rides in the park. Number 5, Great Bear, a B&M invert. This is certainly one of B&M's more unique coasters. The ride starts out with a forceful helix that leads into the main drop and features some classic 90s B&M elements, forceful inversions, a whippy 0G roll, and even a touch of floater airtime. The pacing on this thing is also fantastic, pretty much right up until the very end. The way it avoids being over the water and finishing with the whippy corkscrew is certainly a memorable finale. However, even though the ride still has a few hundred feet of track, it's pretty much over after the corkscrew, since it just glides back into the brakes and passes over pathways and several rides. Honestly, I think one of my favorite things about Great Bear is simply to look at it. I mean, those supports though.
What the hell?
Number 4. Thunder Racer. This is the other side of the GCI racing coaster at the park, and for whatever reason, I always get fantastic rides on this side. I really don't know what it is, but I've always favored this side. Thunder tends to run faster, has a better feel to it, it's a little rough but not too rough, lightning kind of just goes through weird smooth patches and then really rough patches, and also the laterals and airtime feel so much stronger on Thunder. Not sure if it's just me, but usually people I know tend to agree that this side is better than the other. Number 3. Candemonium. The United States' newest B&M Hyper is one of either everyone's favorite, or it just kind of falls flat. I'm more on the side of it falling flat. The first half starts out with a strong, fantastic drop, strong floater over every hill, and even that unique outer bank, for B&M at least. After that, the ride really falls flat with a questionable airtime hill, the forceless helix around the Kisses fountain, and some weak hills into the brakes that you're about to sit in for 5 minutes. Now, obviously the second half is more about the visuals, but I feel like if the trim on the hill hit a little less hard, it would be a much better ride. Overall, this is one of the best rides in the park, and gives a great contrast to the rest of the intense coasters in the park. Number 2. Storm Runner. This Intamin hydraulic launch coasters is one of the best rides in the country in my opinion. Every element on this ride hits hard. A strong launch, ejector airtime over the top hat, a forceful inversion with the Cobra Loop, and the flying snake dive is one of the best series of inversions in my opinion. The ejector airtime into a twisting mess of hang time and laterals is truly one of the best sensations from any coaster. The ride ends with a bang, with its weird twisted double up giving intense laterals and airtime, overall rounding out one of the best launch coasters and coasters period in the country. Once Wildcat's Revenge opens up, I expect it to be right ahead of Storm Runner. Now, Storm Runner might be hard to beat, and it's one of my favorite coasters, but currently all the RMCs I've ridden are ranked above Storm Runner, and Wildcat sure looks to be a good one. And at number 1 is Skyrush, the insane Intamin hyper coaster. I talked about how I believe this is one of the most intense coasters ever built in a few videos, and most recently, my top 50 coasters of 2022. Skyrush takes each force to the extreme, and with those restraints that feel like they are barely there and the super open feeling trains, you feel every little bit of this ride's wrath. Now granted, the restraints aren't fantastic in terms of comfort, but on my most recent rides I've had no problem with them and have started loving the trains even more for the aforementioned free and exposed feeling, especially on the wing seats. If you ride the left wing seat, you'll be thrown around like a ragdoll on those turns with how crazy the laterals are. Overall, this is one of my favorite coasters ever built, and I still can't believe that this exists, and Intamin said, yeah, this is okay. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, and of course, don't forget to comment your favorite Hersheypark coasters down below. I'd love to see your opinions and talk with you guys. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this and some other stuff too. And once again, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see everybody in the next video.